In this episode of OG55, we are breaking down some of the park stuff, or lack thereof, at the D23 Brazil Expo. We're going to talk about it. We're going to break it down. We're going to actually also talk about what wasn't said in this panel and what that might actually say about certain projects. Up next here on OG55. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG55. Today was the D23 Brazil Parks Panel. There's a lot to talk about, but there wasn't a lot announced at this panel. Kind of confusing, I know, but there's the silence on some projects are really, really telling. But before we dive in, George, where can everybody find you on social media, sir?
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There he is. All right, everybody, let's dive right in. This is courtesy of Mr. Scott Gustin. Beautiful concept art, by the way. This is gorgeous. This is actually one of the things that we did receive at this expo. I will want to say actually, before we kind of dive into this, look, we did a like a prediction video, what, like a week or two ago now, George?
A week
for D23 Brazil. I don't think we were expecting anything major to be announced at this panel, right? I mean, come on, it's not the main D23 like in Anaheim, right? But I have to say, I got to be honest, like there wasn't even like news that really even expanded upon like what we already know. You know, like we were talking, George, in our prediction video, like we should know a lot more about Monstropolis. We'll get into that in a second. We should know maybe a little bit more about maybe Avatar at DCA, maybe Tropical Americas. I mean, especially Tropical Americas. They didn't really give us much. They gave us an opening date for Tropical Americas, which was what, 2027?
Which was already still released back in August.
At the expo.
At the expo in California.
Right. And then that project, and what was it? So, no, Tropical America, I mean, not Tropical America, it's Cars and Avengers campus updates or attractions break ground next year. And
also Monsters, Inc.
Monsters, Inc.
Yeah. Same thing that they also had mentioned back in August, that Damaro reiterated in Brazil that construction starts in 2025. That doesn't do anything for us. It's just beating around the bush, kicking some rocks. I mean, I get it. You know, it's in Brazil. There's a possibility they may not have gotten the news. But the fact that a lot of South Americans and Brazilians go to Walt Disney World, chances are when the news breaks on social media, it travels worldwide. I really can't foresee majority of the people not knowing this news already, especially since it was back in August. The fact that this expo was only months away from what they held in Anaheim, why they would literally repeat word for word of what these projects are was baffling to me. Again, yes, I'm with you. I didn't think that we were going to get nothing big, nothing major, but I thought for sure we would have had like some kind of solidified concrete details of like when construction might start, like date wise, when times it would actually open, like summer of 2027 or what have you. And especially where a lot of these projects are going to be located. That was the big shocker for me.
There wasn't really any news, you know. Now we're looking at one of the pieces of news, you know, this Moana float. I don't believe they showed this at Anaheim, right?
Correct.
Yes. So this is for a Moana themed float in the upcoming Disney Starlight Nighttime Parade coming to Magic Kingdom, which looks amazing. I mean, this looks absolutely breathtaking. Moana is a beast of a franchise. It's no surprise that they're leaning into Moana, right? Moana 2 is tracking very well. Yeah, this looks great. you know, but we didn't really get much. Look, okay, so we got this concept art, right? Or yeah, concept art. We got this, which is kind of cool. This kind of showcases like the possible like trackless ride system for the Cars themed attraction over there at Magic Kingdom, which high speed and trackless sounds kind of dangerous. No, I was kidding. But I mean, it's pretty cool, man. I mean, this was kind of neat. I like this. This is going to be a really, really fun attraction if it's anything like what we're seeing here. So that was pretty cool. And then we also got this, which is showcasing some of the villains that will be featured in Villains Land. So we have Cruella, Captain Hook, Maleficent, Gaston, the Evil Queen, you know, Jafar, Chernabog. You know, you got a bunch here. I mean, this is basically, if you're making a Villains Land, these are the villains that you're going to use. So right now they have a great roster for characters that they're focusing on in Villains Land. Let's start with Villains Land, and then we'll kind of work our way around.
Yeah.
What was your idea about this, George? What was your thoughts on this in terms of like who they picked? Is this the right call? Not so good. What were your thoughts?
So I'm glad we got a little bit of some detail of like, yeah, like what villains they would utilize, because when you use the term Villains Land, it's like, well, what villains are they going to use? I mean, would I have loved to have known like some of the actual details of like what is going to be in the land? Maybe like what is the roller coaster going to be like, or the dark ride, you know, but I guess we'll get there much later on. But the fact that we're starting out with a good roster of villains, that makes me happy. And I think of what they're showcasing, I do see some of the typical ones that I kind of figured that they were going to, showcase. Hades, Ursula, Captain Hook, Maleficent. What was surprising to me was actually seeing Chernabog, that they may actually utilize him somewhere. And I would love, and I know that the main centerpiece is going to be Maleficent's Forbidden Mountain, part of the dark ride or the roller coaster, but I still wonder if they would actually have a structure of a mountain where maybe every so often Chernabog shows up, maybe at night or what have you, or even during the day, or have like an audio animatronic kind of thing, kind of sort of like how they utilize the dragon, but it's not like a audio animatronic. It's just kind of like a still structure on top of Gringotts for the Wizarding World. But if they did something like that, where they use like projection mapping on the mountain and the music plays and you see all like the spirits and everything kind of reflect on the mountain. Oh man, that would be so cool. A little bit of a big surprise that I didn't see was they didn't add Scar in this.
Oh, that is interesting. That's a miss for me. I think Scar, you kind of need him in this land.
Yeah. Especially because we were talking like if they wanted to go the route of what Universal was going to do, kind of like play on, with Dracula and vampires, have a steakhouse. That would have been really cool to have like an elephant graveyard kind of steakhouse kind of thing. Not saying that they still won't, they still might add something in there, but it just made me surprised that Scar was not up on that screen. And also too, they show the Evil Queen as the queen and also as the old hag. So
right.
That tells me if maybe in the dark ride attraction, we actually see the queen transform into the old hag. That would be really cool.
That would be. I'm very optimistic about Villains Land. I think what we're seeing so far, their head is in the right place. Yes, it's a little disappointing that Scar isn't added on here, but still, I'm very optimistic. So we'll kind of see how that kind of shakes out.
So, and one more character that surprised me that is on this roster, and that is up at the top right-hand corner, Yzma from Emperor's New Groove.
That is surprising. I'm surprised if Scar is left out, that they went with her over Scar.
Yeah.
Right? Does that surprise you? I mean, we don't know, though. I mean, this is kind of like, again, this is not very... This news isn't like super telling, really. Like it's telling us something, right? But it's like so like it could mean anything.
It's vague.
Very vague, you know what I'm saying? So, and that's the issue that I had with this panel. Look, I said before, I wasn't expecting major announcements. I wasn't expecting them to announce anything major here. This is kind of like an ancillary, you know, event, right? It's like San Diego Comic-Con is the biggest one of all the Comic-Cons, but then you have like the ancillary ones, like, you know, Comic-Con New York and what have you, right? So it's like I never expect these other Comic-Cons to really compete with San Diego. I understand that, just like Brazil, just like Japan with the D23 Expo. But I was expecting more than what we got. And, you know, and this is the issue with Josh D'Amaro. He continuously drops the ball with these expos, with these announcements. Now, granted, we gave him a lot of credit for Anaheim this past summer when we were there in August, right, George? But you know what? Exactly. He had to do that. If he didn't do that, he would have been gone. Like there's no way he would have even be in the running for CEO anymore.
Now, and I know we'll probably dive into this more when we do our video with Seymour on the subject matter, but it makes me wonder now, in the position that he's in, is he still in the running for CEO? So now he feels more lax. Does he know that he's completely out of the running for CEO? So he's like, why should I now give a shit? I'll be more laxed about it. Like, it seemed like he didn't really put up any more extra effort to do this D23 Brazil like he did the one in Anaheim, because he knew when he came into that arena, he had big time damage control to fix.
He did, but he shouldn't rest on his laurels one way or the other. He should continue. Look, like I said, there is expectations, a certain level of expectation when it comes to like a D23 in Brazil or in Japan. You're not going to get the same level of announcements. And I think as fans, we all understand that, right? But to just not really announce anything, like, let's be honest, there really wasn't anything announced. It was so weak, like super weak, you know? And to your point, is it something to do with the CEO position? Maybe that's possible, because if you think about it, here's the thing, and not to get political, and we're going to talk to Seymour about this in an upcoming video, but here's the thing. Donald Trump won the presidency. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump has a big issue with Disney right now because of the ABC debate a few months ago. Mm-hmm. Big issue. Dana Walden being the entertainment executive, and now she wants to run Disney. I'm sure the board is looking at that going, well, we have a president now who has an active vendetta against Miss Walden. Do we want to put her as CEO and have her being the target of this bullshit? And I don't agree with it. I don't agree with the vengeful tactics that they do. I didn't agree when DeSantis pulled his bullshit over there in Florida either. Okay, I think it's nonsense. But we have to prepare for that. When he gets in office in January, is he going to punish the Mouse House because Dana Walden is connected to ABC?
Well, and we have to take into consideration too, at the time she would then become CEO, hypothetically, if she still does, because she would take over when Iger leaves in 2026. That'll be partial way through into Trump's presidency. So maybe during this time, before she actually steps foot into the seat of the CEO, they may have to do some schmoozing, if you will, and maybe kind of like fix some bad ties between the both of them before, if they are still considering her, because that's going to be an uphill battle for sure.
That will. And so in what you were saying with D'Amaro, maybe he knows that. Maybe he knows Dana's got an uphill battle now because of Trump. So now it's like, I can ease off the gas a little bit now. I don't really need to work as hard anymore because I think I might have this in the bag now. Now, he shouldn't get too cocky because Dana Walden's a very smart woman, and Dana Walden might do some smoozing or whatever she has to do to fix that situation with Trump. We don't know what she's going to do behind the scenes. So I wouldn't, if that's what it is with D'Amaro, I wouldn't get too cocky or comfortable, Josh. I mean,
exactly, because here's the thing. Like, I do believe D'Amaro's word on we're going to get all this in the next 5 years and what have you. But you still have to keep us up to date with stuff. And the fact is that we still don't know where majority of all this stuff is going. If construction is going to start in 2025 to be ready and done in 5 years, obviously the news has to come sooner or later. So why not make the announcement now when you have a platform to do so? Unless Disney is very fearful about making certain announcements in front of a large crowd.
Yes, and that's a perfect segue to Monstropolis and Muppets, because we were hearing in the lead up to this expo that there are murmurs that we were going to hear about where Monstropolis is going to go, and it's probably going to replace Muppets. That announcement did not come today. Now, it makes me wonder, sometimes silence is an answer. Like sometimes no response is a response, right? So I think in this situation, them being silent on where it's going sort of points to the fact that it's probably going into the Muppets, because he knows that's a controversial thing. So he's not going to announce that on stage. Technically, he should. He should say, we're breaking ground next year for Monstropolis, and because of that, it's going here. And so your last day for Muppets will be that day or this day, whatever. He's not doing that, though. So it tells me that there's hesitation to announce where it's going, because he knows it's going to be a controversial, unpopular thing. So he might do what he did the last time, where he doesn't announce it on stage, and then come Monday, we get a press release.
Yep.
The last day to check out Muppets Vision 4D is March of 2026 or whatever it is, or 2025. You know, it might be something like that. But the fact that he didn't say anything where that thing is going, and it breaks ground next year, is so telling, dude. I'm telling you, it's probably going into that Muppets area, because
honestly, if it was in the animation courtyard, he would have had no problem with announcing that on stage.
Exactly. So why not?
Something is delaying the announcement itself, because there's no way that they still would not know where that is going. If they are breaking construction ground in 2025, there is no way in hell that they won't know where it's going.
Yeah, it's breaking ground next year and they don't know where it's going. Come on, they know where it's going.
Yeah.
They know where it's going. He can't say it on stage because he knows what kind of backlash they're going to get. They might even get boos.
But even with this wishy-washy with him, it's like you never know which DeMario you're going to get. And that's where, if he's acting like that as chairman of parks, God forbid if he ends up becoming CEO. What could that possibly mean for the studio side of the company if he's running all of it?
Yeah.
He's not that type of businessman. He's very, as I said, he's probably a very nice guy sociably. He's probably a very nice guy, but I'm saying as far as a businessman goes, I don't know.
I just think that he's, people blamed Bob Chapek. Oh, it's not Josh. Chapek handcuffed DeMario, basically, and that's why. Okay, Chapek has been gone for a long time now. So clearly it wasn't just Chapek. DeMario was doing the same thing that he's done when Chapek was there. And you have a parks chief for a reason. You can't even really blame Bob Iger either. Like, Iger, there'd be no point to have a parks chief if Iger made all the decisions, or if Chapek made all the decisions. We have a parks guy because he runs the parks division. So the buck stops with Daddy Josh. And we see the same thing over and over again with him in these expos. He's non-committal. He's wishy-washy. He doesn't want to announce anything. Yes, we had one exception in Anaheim, and that was probably just because he's running for CEO, and he knew he had to hit a home run with that one. He knew he had to hit a home run with that one. This one he probably feels is a lot more expendable, so who cares? We're going to announce stuff that was already announced 2 and 3 months ago.
Yeah.
It's really telling. I'm really disappointed in this. Look, like I said, I wasn't expecting a whole lot to be announced, but I was expecting something to be announced.
I was expecting the least, where I thought for sure, I was like 90 to 95% sure that we were going to know where Monsters, Inc. was going. Out of everything, I thought we were going to get that for sure.
That's what we were hearing.
Second of all, I thought we would have got more detail on Tropical Americas. Hence, it's in Brazil, perfect fit, and then what was the other thing? And then I wasn't really expecting too much for Disneyland, because it being in South America, they're more geared towards Disney World and what have you. But yet it still would have been nice to maybe get some news on Avatar, Coco. We did get a little bit of the Avengers, but again, it was the same stuff of it breaking ground in 2025. Okay, well, that's not really doing us anything because we already knew that. And then what really shocked me was not getting an official announcement that there was going to be a port in South America for Disney Cruise Line. That really shocked me.
Yeah, there were announcements they could have made at this thing that were not crazy big, but satisfying. You know?
Yeah.
I got a text from our friend Lucas today saying he was saying he'd be disappointed if he paid money to go to that. Yeah, I would too.
Oh yeah, I would have been really disappointed.
I mean, I would have been probably mad, to be honest. You know, there just wasn't enough, man. And it's just, I don't know. Why even have it if you're not going to announce anything? I mean, the studio side announced a bunch of stuff. I mean, the studio side, they ate very well. Mm-hmm. They got a lot of good stuff. And we'll do a show on the studio stuff, you know, in a few days. But like the parks, nothing, absolutely nothing. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. He should have announced where this stuff was going. If you don't know where it's going and it's breaking ground next year, we have some big problems, Josh.
Yeah, then you're fooling yourself. Yeah, then you're just kind of leading us off the beaten path to just tell us what we want to hear and say, okay, yeah, all this is coming, this is coming, this is coming, this is coming. And then as soon as you hit backstage, okay, now we got to figure out where all this is going to go. It's like, no, you got to figure out what you're doing first before you make these announcements. Otherwise, don't make them at all.
Yeah, exactly. So I just don't like the way that the parks division has been run on his watch. I'm sorry. I'm going to be honest. I don't have anything against him as a person. I think he seems like a really cool guy. Like I said, I would love to have a non-alcoholic beer with him. I don't drink anymore. So I'd have a non-alcoholic beer with Tomorrow. He seems like a great guy. But in terms of running the parks, I'm not impressed.
Yeah.
I'm just not.
And I briefly got to meet him. I got a selfie. He was very generous, very nice that he actually stopped and came back to me to take a selfie and said, you know, are you going to be at the parks panel? You know, it's going to be a good one, you know, and he was very nice, you know, and I agree with you. Nothing against him as a person. As I said, I would have an alcoholic beverage with him, you know, but yeah, it's just, he has these moments where it's like, okay, you want to give him the benefit of the doubt because he does have that personality with him that it's like, it makes you want to like him, and you do. But then when he does things like this, it's like, it gets so frustrating because it's like the answers are written on the walls. He just has to deliver them. I don't get it.
I don't either. I just don't understand it. So we'll see what happens, man. This is interesting. Let's wait for Monday. We'll get the news drop on Monday, right? That they're getting rid of Muppets.
I think honestly, we're going to wake up now on Monday, and it's going to say breaking news that Monstropolis is going in the Muppet Courtyard. Because I don't think they would do a breaking news of saying Monstropolis is going in the animation courtyard when the Little Mermaid show is about to debut next year. So they're not going to really do anything with that. And again, that's news that he could have made announcement on the stage. Why wait till Monday with that? Exactly.
So it's going to be interesting to see how that whole thing shakes out. Now, we're going to dive into a little bit of speculation here. So this was the studio, which actually got a lot of good stuff. The studio delivered at the expo, I think. It says here, just announced at D23 Brazil, Ice Age 6 is now in production. Ray Romano, John Leguizamo, Queen Latifah, Dennis Leary, and Simon Pegg are returning for an all-new big screen adventure. Now, we all know that Blue Sky Studios no longer exists, which was the studio that did these movies in the first place. I guess now it'll be done by Fox Animation, which is interesting, that's cool. But the reason why I want to bring up this particular studio story, well, actually, you brought this to my attention. It was your idea, so I got to give you credit, brother. But what does this mean for the parks? Do you think because this is an interesting franchise. Do you think we might see? Look, Disney's very bullish on this franchise to make a 6th movie. Mm-hmm. They haven't given up on Ice Age. You think we could see it in the parks, and where would it go?
I think honestly, there is very interesting potential that it still could possibly make its way into the Disney parks, because there was a lot of speculation and talks in the rumor mill many years ago that if Disney acquired Fox or 20th Century or just certain properties, that there was potential that Ice Age and Rio could end up in any of the Disney parks. And I thought it was interesting. And what was funny was I just brought that up during one of my solo lives. And right as I mentioned Ice Age, breaking news, Ice Age 6 is coming. I'm telling you, as you call me, bro, I'm the manifestation king. Like
you are the manifest. You manifest like crazy, dude. You manifest like crazy. You have like a direct line to the universe. You know what I'm saying? It's wild. It's absolutely wild.
I do find it very interesting because the 5th Ice Age was okay, but it didn't really do so well box office wise. And the fact that it is many years later that they're going back into this franchise to kind of maybe give it a little bit of a reboot, but a continuation is very risky. But you're right. I think they have like high hopes that this is a great comeback. And I think that if it was to go into any of the Disney parks, it would go into the park that it was rumored to go in the first place. And that's Animal Kingdom, which I would be okay with because it gives a whole different personification of a different kind of area, a different climate, because you'd have like ice glaciers, you would have like the snow, that kind of feel to it. Plus, with them getting rid of Dino Land USA to replace Tropical Americas, it kind of allows them to use a prehistoric kind of venture with mammoths and saber-tooths and sloths. So I think that would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it'd be a great idea for Animal Kingdom. Something for the kiddos. You bring dinosaurs back to that park. It's a very popular franchise. Disney is investing in future sequels. So you have that synergy working for you. Mm-hmm. It works. We'll see what happens. I think it's interesting speculation indeed, you know? So we'll see. So D23 Brazil, we're actually going to do a show with D Magic Girl, Danielle, right? We love Danielle. She's awesome. Yeah. Absolutely awesome. We're going to record with her this upcoming week about everything about the D23 Brazil Expo. So we're going to talk in more depth with her. And we have actually a lot of great guests lined up this upcoming week. So it's going to be very, 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 very cool. We have actually first time on the channel later this week, San Fran Nan. It's San Fran, and then her name is Ngan. Check her out on YouTube. She is phenomenal. We're going to bring her on this week as well. And Walt's apartment. They're going to be on the show this week as well. So we have a lot of great stuff lined up. And John from the Artistry Drop podcast is also going to be on the show. So we have so much. But George, really good time today talking shop with you. The Brazil Expo, unfortunately, there wasn't a whole lot here. So, but, you know, it is what it is, you know, but we'll see what happens. But anything you want to add before we go?
Yeah, as I said, I was kind of shocked and disappointed that we didn't get not necessarily new news, but new news off of existing news that we already got, but they would just add on to it to kind of like beef it up a bit. I'm very surprised at that. But again, Monday morning, we might wake up, as I said, breaking news, Monstropolis going into Muppet Courtyard.
It's possible. It's absolutely possible. We will see. Everyone at home, comment down below with all your thoughts on everything we talked about today. What are your thoughts on the Brazil Expo? What are your thoughts on the parks announcements, I guess? You know, what do you feel about that? We would love to hear from you. Comment down below. And as always, have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you for watching OG55. If you aren't already, consider becoming a member today.